process. Okay.
I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln Lancaster County Planning Commission of April 28th, 2021. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available at the front of the chambers with the clerk. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. In order to meet the required social distancing protocols, we must limit the number of people inside the chambers. Staff is assisting individuals who are present and wish to testify on items on today's agenda by assuring that each person has signed in. Staff will direct you into the chambers based on what items you are testifying on and your position on that item. Interested parties can observe the meeting on the monitors located outside the chambers. Based on estimations, we are staggering the times of various hearings. These times are identified in parentheses on the agenda. We are encouraging attendees to arrive no more than 15 minutes before their scheduled hearing. Please note that an agenda item will not begin before the time posted. In the event that the allocated hearing times go quicker than estimated, there will be breaks in the hearing. If you parked in the parking garage across the street to the north, the gate is open and no parking coupons are needed. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners, and the staff, cellular phone usage is not permitted in these chambers during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. The Planning Commission action on all items on today's agenda is a recommendation to the City Council. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held April 14th, 2021.
So moved.
Second, Beckius.
Jerry?
Okay, Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Edgerton,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Jerry to read all the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Jerry, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, before I do that, I have a couple of announcements. Commissioner Shear has declared a conflict of interest on item 1.2, which is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21009, relating to the proposed addition of the two landmark center redevelopment project, and therefore will recuse himself from voting on the consent agenda. Also, I would note that item 1.4, change of zone 04075I, will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action, as there's been a request on behalf of the applicant for a 2-week deferral. And we've received a request to remove item 1.1, Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21008, relating to the 25th and Vine redevelopment project, removing that from consent for a separate public hearing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read the remaining items into the record. Item 1.2 is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21009 to review as to conformance with the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan. Two proposed amendments, the first to the Lincoln Center redevelopment plan and the second to the South of Downtown redevelopment and strategic plan, to identify the two landmark center redevelopment project, including the demolition of existing on-site facilities and construction of a new 3-story office building on property generally located at 1111 Lincoln Mall. Item 1.3 is Comprehensive Plan 21010 to review as to conformance with the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, a proposed amendment to the Lincoln Center redevelopment plan to amend the Block 65 redevelopment project, adjusting the tax increment financing from 15 to 20 years on property generally located at 200 and 206 South 13th Street and 1318 and 1340 M Street, between 13th and 14th M and N Streets. Item 1.5 is change of zone 21010 from B3 Commercial District and R4 Commercial or Residential District to R6 residential district on property generally located at 2716 and 2718 Star Street and 1420 North 27th Street. And the last consent agenda item is item 1.6, miscellaneous 12003, to review the proposed determination that the Meadow Lane Shopping Center be declared a blighted and substandard area on property generally located at the northeast corner of 70th and Vine Streets. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
I don't see any.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on any of the consent agenda items I just read into the record? If so, please stand and state that item.
Okay, looks like we're good to go there.
I would move approval of the consent agenda.
Second, Beckius.
Jerry?
Okay. Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Edgerton?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0. Yes. Okay.
Jerry will now read the requests for deferral.
Okay. I guess before I do that, Commissioner Campbell has declared a conflict of interest on change of zones 0405 or 75I and will recuse himself at this time. A written communication has been submitted on behalf of the applicant requesting a 2-week deferral of the public hearing and action of change of zone 04075I, which is an amendment to the existing Village Gardens planned unit development for the construction of multiple family dwellings with waivers to adjust height and parking on property generally located at 56th and Pine Lake Road. This action would delay, or the request would delay public hearing and action to the May 12th Planning Commission hearing.
I'd entertain a motion.
Move to defer.
Second.
Okay.
ahead.
I'm sorry, was that?
We both
I think it's Cindy.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and call the vote.
Okay. Ball,
Yes.
Edgerton,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Shear,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
and Corn.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on this application today? And please note that if you do choose to testify today, then you won't be allowed to testify on May 12th. Looks like we're clear there. Okay. I think we're ready to move to public hearing items. Oh, I guess I have more to say about that. The staff will make a brief presentation. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please place the information in the folder on the podium. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes. Then you will have 1 minute to wrap up your testimony. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Jerry, will you call the first public hearing item, please?
Yes. Comprehensive Plan Conformance 21008 to review as to conformance with the 2040 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, a proposed amendment to the Antelope Valley redevelopment plan that adds the 25th and Vine redevelopment project on property generally located at 25th and Vine Streets. Staff recommendation is a finding of conformance with the comp plan. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
I don't see any.
Are there any, ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting the site?
No. All right, Mr. Marvin.
Good afternoon, Dan Marvin, Urban Development, 555 South 10th Street. It's a new wrinkle in my testimony here. This is a 36-unit apartment complex that will be built along Vine Street think the Elmo's going to pop up a picture here. Yeah, so here's Vine Street project area. We've identified within the kind of the hashed areas are areas where public improvements could be made. And it would be 2 buildings that would be on there, 36 units. We've had a number of discussions, as this body knows, on apartment complex. We're interested in affordable housing, and the developer is agreeing to maintaining 6 of the units as affordable, which is a little bit more than what we would typically ask, but this is a longer-term 20-year TIF. So we've asked for additional units, which they've agreed to. The other asks that I think will be forthcoming are efforts at energy efficiency within the building. So I think we're going to make some headway there. So both of those would be elements that I think we would be working on. Construction would occur perhaps later this year. And when we talk about affordability, just so everybody's clear here, the way we define affordability on rental units is that people making 60% of area median income, and that they're not cost burden, meaning that their rent and utility combined balance is not greater than 30% of what their income, of what that take home would amount to, that not more than 30% is going towards rent utilities. I'd be happy to answer some questions. I know that the attorney that is representative of this project is also available as well.
Any questions right now?
I have a question, actually.
Oh, sure.
So I heard and read about the 6 affordable housing units that was included. How did that number get set? Was it a decision from this body, or did the developer come and suggest it?
Originally, when we were discussing 15-year TIF, what we've been asking for is something that would be 10%. So on 36 units, you can't build 3.6 units. So the thought process was they would have built 4 if we would have done 15-year TIF. And then when it became apparent that the enabling legislation through the state would allow 20-year TIF in this particular area, we had a conversation, and they increased the amount by 50%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Applicant.
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Post. I am an attorney with Baylor Evnen Law Firm. That is 1248 O Street, Suite 600. I'm here on behalf of the developer, LA Real Estate, in support of this plan amendment. Director Marvin went over a lot of the details of this project. We're very excited to have the opportunity to bring this type of multifamily housing project to Lincoln. We have been in conversations with the planning department and urban development for a while, just to get all of the details worked, how we could put this site together. As you're aware, parking is always a challenge, and we're able to work through issues with that. This, you will see coming before you that we will also have a community unit plan for setback waivers, and also to meet that parking ratio. And then next would be the redevelopment agreement for tax increment financing. We're excited to bring this project and including those 6 units of affordable housing to this area. And so with that, I will stop, answer any questions that you have, and otherwise be happy to answer or address any questions the public might have that I can answer.
Any questions for Ann? Yeah.
Can you briefly describe how the buildings would be placed? It seems like an odd configuration.
Yeah, let's see. I am sorry, I only have a black and white site plan here. Well, this is just the site plan that is in the redevelopment amendment. But so the idea would be that the building would be placed, it's going to be 2 buildings more or less right here. And so that would allow our main access point is going to be the alley over here. And so park in that way with the 2 kind of L's, parking lot's going to be in the middle with additional parking on this lot over here.
What is the other lot on Lynn Street highlighted for?
This lot,
No, not to your left,
right here,
to your left, the big one, yeah,
over
that.
here.
Yeah.
I think that's highlighted because that's actually not part of the redevelopment area. So these lots are part of the project. This lot is. And then there was the request to include the adjacent public right-of-way. So that includes the entire alley. This is an alley. And then the adjoining streets. So I think they're highlighted because there are holes in the site, in the area.
Thank you.
And how did the developer decide to do, I noticed in the report it says they're doing all 2-bedroom with 1 bath. Why all the same size? Is that, I mean, why no variation?
I think because the developer, they have several buildings in Lincoln. They have a lot of multifamily housing units in Lincoln, but this is one of the largest projects that they have pursued so far. My understanding is that that's what they have in their experience. That is what the market is interested in, and that's why that's why they intend to build that.
Are they anticipating this to be students living here or families or?
They're anticipating a mix. I know that, being so close to the university, they anticipate there may be some students. At the same time, with the commitment to affordable housing and being in the area, we think we'll see a mix of tenants that are interested in living in this building.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Ann?
No.
Okay, thanks, Ann.
Thanks.
All right, do we have any testimony in support? Testimony in support of this application.
Okay, I am generally in support of the project.
Oh, can you tell us your name and
Okay.
address, please?
My name is Ed Patterson. My address is about a block south of this project at 700 North 24th. And I've been, I'm associated with the Malone Neighborhood Association, one way or another. And I've been actively involved in the progress of this neighborhood as a community, a place to live, businesses and everything for like 40 years or more. I have been, one of the things I've been involved in is trying to keep the center medians functioning as an attractive entrance to the main research campus of the University of Nebraska and the state of Nebraska. And in fact, if you went back in the Lincoln Journal-Star, you'd see on these big scissors at the ribbon cutting on the bridge at Vine Street, Mayor, I think it was Helen Gonzalez, was it, on one handle of the scissors, and I was on the other. So I was a big proponent of the Vine Street as designed. We've had a little bit of a disconnect in who's responsible, and if you're responsible, what are you going to do to update the center median? And I'll start off, and the Vine Street corridor in general. The bike path, which is on both sides of the street in front of this development, currently is impassable during winter snow plowing. In fact, if you have mountain boots, you couldn't get through there. I mean, it's ice chunks this big and so on. So that is the problem with the bike path. I would propose replacing the blade that they presently have on the dump trucks that go through there, and the blade's at a slant, and it throws this ice chunks up onto the bike path, which is laden with chemicals for de-icing Vine Street, which don't do the plantings in front of the homes and business homes along there any good. So I would propose replacing that blade for the machines that do snow removal along the bike path area on Vine Street with an auger from the street up over the cab to the box. These things are commercially available. You couldn't do that all over the whole city of Lincoln and on all the arterials because it's an expensive task, gas motor fuel if nothing else, to run that box out to the city edge of the city limits and dump it wherever you're going to dump it. But for things like the bike path, I would suggest that we get some people interested in seeing how much this would cost to do it this way, an auger instead of a blade. The center median, irrigation shouldn't be a problem because there was irrigation installed as part of the original project. But the first winter or two, some pipes broke and they never fixed them for about the first 5 years or more. Now, finally, last summer, they got some crews out there and they found the breaks in the pipes and they replaced those. They as I can recall, did have morning irrigation a couple days a week, which is just fine because what you've got out there is buffalo grass. It doesn't need a lot of water. But then they stopped. And even buffalo grass with no water in a center median where the apron to 30 feet to either side is concrete, which sheds the water, doesn't allow it to penetrate. So the only water that this 100-foot wide corridor is getting from the rain is the water that comes through this little opening in the center median. So you've got to irrigate that if you're going to have plantings out there. Flowering trees. I don't know whether people drink too much or every once in a while they just want to hit something. But we had the 3 flowering trees on the end from the 25th Street on up, demolished about 4 or 5 years ago in the course of a couple of weeks. Now, I went out there and got the pieces of headlamp, found the serial number, looked those back to the model of and you're in the model of the car. Lo and behold, it was one of the houses on the other side of the street where the car was parked with the broken headlamp. So I've done all the homework now. I give this to the police. Nothing happens. The car continues to sit there. It never gets a ticket. And most importantly, the reason I did this was I wanted the 3 trees paid for and replaced. Nothing happens for a year, so I then went to the Parks Department and I said, I will pay for those 3 trees. I just want you guys to plant the 3 flowering trees. Things went on for a couple of years. Nothing happened. Finally, I happened to be at a public meeting and the Parks Department director was speaking. And before he went up and heard his turn to speak, I caught him on the sidelines and I offered him, I will pay for these trees. And he said, oh, you shouldn't have to do that. And about a year later, the whole thing, plantings and everything, the trees got done. So then his responsibility got passed off to the university. And the university hasn't been really doing much of anything other than those plantings got replaced. It's still not getting regularly irrigated. I get out there, as I have for the last 5 years, and put down pre-emergent fertilizer every year at the beginning at my own expense. But they're not doing anything, and we've got mostly weeds displacing the buffalo grass. Utilities. Okay, we've had some projects put in, particularly one between 23rd and 24th and U Street and Vine, that to save money, they tapped all of the potable water taps into an old 100-year-old main that shouldn't have been used. And during the day, periods of time during the day, so that's time?
If you want to wrap up, yeah.
Well, okay. So anyway, the utilities need to be not just whatever is the cheapest that works. They need to be engineered for that many units, where you tap in. And then parking. Several times, the wife and I have done surveys of campus nearby, near neighborhoods around the United States that have developed parking ordinances. And I won't get into the details here with you guys, but this has been done. It works. And we have people permanently parking for like weeks at a time, 3 or 4 blocks away from where they live. And so we'll be back for that issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other testimony in support? Any testimony in opposition? Any testimony in opposition? Okay. Staff questions? I have one, I guess. Dan, since Vine Street is included in the project scope, boundaries, can those medians be included as, you know, some of those issues that he brought up, can those be funded with TIF?
Yes. The real short answer is yes. And it was intentional, the map that I showed you earlier, it was intentional that it went across the street to include those medians to address that.
So we can maybe look at, you know, like
we-
tree replacement, irrigation
Yes.
for the medians. Okay. Other questions for, oh, yeah.
And when this was presented to urban design, they did include their civil engineering when they showed the project to them. And that did address some of those comments and questions, did it not?
Dallas, you were at the urban design meeting.
Yes, I think it did in a very general way. I think what we can do is, we're at the point where we are putting together the redevelopment agreement, and that'll identify very specifically what TIF will be used for, and we'll make sure that's addressed.
Awesome.
And just for the record, that's Dallas McGee, 555 South 10th Street, Assistant Director of Urban Development.
Thank you, Dan.
Well done.
Go ahead.
Do you have a question?
I don't have a question.
Okay, any other questions for either one of them?
No.
Okay. Applicant rebuttal?
Good afternoon. It sounds like I should introduce myself again, maybe. Ann Post, 1248 O Street, Suite 600, on behalf of the applicant. I would like to note that I was able to talk to our commenter a little bit before the meeting and provide my contact information so that whatever questions, whatever we can help answer, we're happy to do that. As Director Marvin discussed a little bit, this is one of several steps in the process. This is the redevelopment plan amendment. We're still looking at the community unit plan as well as the redevelopment agreement, which may be able to address some of these things. You know, as far as landscaping, I can tell you my client is working with a landscape architect right now. We understand that this is an area right next to the university where the university is inclined and would like to see a heightened level of landscaping, and in those discussions, my client is looking to meet their expectations, work with them. We want to have an attractive site. This is a site that we anticipate developing and holding for the long term. And so the interest is in, when we look at utilities, that we have utilities that work for the long term. I can tell you that, as I've said, we've been in discussions with planning department and with urban development on this project for a while. LTU has been part of those discussions. So to help answer those questions, parking, this will increase parking in the area. And also, increase parking and provide parking for those apartments at the 1.5 stalls per unit. And so we're aware of some of those concerns and working to address them with this plan. So with that, if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
I think we're good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'll move that we close public hearing.
Second, Joy.
Jerry?
Just let me get my. All right. Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Raymond Yost.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Motion carried, 8-0.
I will move approval of comprehensive plan, or finding of conformance with the comprehensive plan 21008. Thank you.
Second, Campbell.
Discussion.
I find that the proposed plan for redevelopment should fit the goals of the comprehensive plan nicely. Just as a quick aside, I recognize the concern of neighbors when it comes to median landscaping. However, as we move forward with the redevelopment, if the applicant is looking at enhanced landscaping on their own property that then provides for perpetual maintenance of that enhanced landscaping, I would be fine with that in lieu of TIF dollars being used for common area that may have funding issues sporadically going forward. So I'll support the project.
Any other comments? I think it looks like a great project, and it'll look nice when it's done, I hope, I think. Jerry?
Okay. Finding of conformance with comp plan for CPC 21008. Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Motion carried, 8-0.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. I would ask for a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Move to adjourn.
Second, Campbell.
Jerry?
Okay. Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Shear.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Motion carried, 8-0.
Okay, we are adjourned.